Today on Happy Cooking with Yvonne Douglas, we're going to make some yummy Greek lasagna tonight. It's called Pastitsio, and I hope you enjoy it. So let's get cooking. Well, welcome back to Happy Cooking with Yvonne Douglas. So let's talk about the ingredients you're going to need for your Greek lasagna. First, we're going to need a pound of ground beef, Parmigiano Reggiano cheese, a half cup of shredded mozzarella and provolone cheese. Going to need 3 large eggs, extra virgin olive oil, 1 white onion, a can of crushed tomatoes, and 1 can of regular tomato sauce. This is the 8-ounce can. You're going to need some balsamic vinegar, pumpkin spice, ground nutmeg. This is 1 stick or a half cup of butter, unsalted butter, some salt and freshly grounded pepper. You're going to need some milk. This is 2% milk. You can use low-fat milk. This is penne pasta. You'll need some penne pasta, probably 1 box of penne pasta, and flour, some Pam spray, olive oil Pam spray, so we can spray our baking dish that you should have around this size. And I believe that is it. So we're going to get busy and start cooking, so stay tuned. Okay, so welcome back. So the very first thing we want to do is to grate our Parmigiano Reggiano cheese. And I like using the Vivaldi brand. I purchased this at Target. But you can use any Parmigiano Reggiano brand you would like. Here's my grater here, and basically I'm just going to grate my cheese. And I want 1 cup of freshly grated Parmigiano Reggiano cheese. And I'm telling you, this cheese is so good that every time I grate, I have to have a bite. I love it. Okay, so I have approximately a cup here of freshly grated Parmigiano Reggiano cheese. That's number 1. And now I'm going to dice up my onion. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to chop up our onion. We're using a 1 whole white onion. And there's an old expression, the sharper your knife, the less you cry when you're chopping onions, so we're going to see if that's true. And you just want to chop it up into little squares. Okay, so welcome back. So next we're going to start cooking up our ground beef. So in my skillet here, I'm going to put on my flame, on a medium flame. I'm going to add around 2 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil to the pan. I'm going to let it get hot first, and then I'm going to add my oil, and then we're going to add our ground beef. And remember, this is 1 pound of ground beef. This is actually 90% lean, 10% fat. If you want to go a little bit leaner, you can. And so let's start. So I'm going to add my around 2 tablespoons of oil. This is extra virgin olive oil. I want to make sure that the base is covered. Let that heat up for a little bit. Then I'm going to add my ground beef. And remember, this is on around a medium flame. Also over here I have my water. I'm heating up my water for my pasta, my penne pasta. And my penne pasta, you're going to use around 1 box, and this is going to cook for 11 minutes. All right, let me add my ground beef. I'm just going to use my fingers. Always wash your hands when you're cooking, so make sure your hands are washed, especially now. I constantly wash my hands. I was just at the gym this morning and did a heavy workout and I was wiping down everything, even that they wipe the machines down, but I was wiping it down, and you know, can only do what you can do, right? All right, so let's get this in here, cook this up. I like using this wooden fork here, kind of break it up some. And while that's starting to cook, I'm going to add my salt and pepper to it. I'm using a half a teaspoon around of salt and a half a teaspoon of freshly ground pepper. All right, so I gave it a good mix. So now I'm gonna cook this up for around 5 minutes, and when we come back, we're going to add our tomato sauce and some of our spices, so stay tuned. Okay, so my ground beef is all browned here. I'm ready for my tomatoes, and I'm using one 28-ounce can of crushed tomatoes. And I'm also using a small little can, 8 ounce of tomato sauce. And I'm going to mix that in there. Okay, so while my ground beef is cooking with my tomatoes, I have in another pan here, I got some extra virgin olive oil and added my onions to it. You can add your onions to it when you first do it. I like to do mine separately and then add it to the mixture. Why? No specific reason. I just like doing it that way sometimes. So I have my onions, and my onions should take around 4 minutes to cook, just until they get translucent, and then we're going to add them to our beef mixture here. So I'm going to add now my 1 tablespoon of vinegar. This is my balsamic vinegar. And I'm going to add my half a teaspoon of pumpkin spice. This is half a teaspoon. Where's my half a teaspoon? Here it is. Okay. It's gonna be so good together. Give that a good stir. Wow, that smells really good. And then I'm gonna add my cheese in with my sauce. I'm gonna let that cheese melt in there. That was my mozzarella and provolone cheese. Stir up my onions here. And I already added my penne pasta to the pot here. That should be done in around 8 minutes or so. It takes 11 minutes to cook. Smells so good. Now, when you're cooking the sauce with the beef and the balsamic vinegar and the pumpkin spice, you're going to let that cook for 15 minutes. We're going to add our onions pretty soon. I'm going to add a little salt and pepper to my onions. That's why I like making them separate too, so I can season them separately. That's just a little salt and a little freshly grounded black pepper. Okay, so my onions look like they're done. I'm going to add them to my beef mixture here with the tomato sauce. And just stir that in. And this has already been cooking for around 5 minutes, but I'm going to leave it in now with the onions for another 15 minutes or so and let that cook on a low flame. And it looks like my penne pasta is almost done too. And we'll be back. Okay, so in my pot here I have my 1 stick of butter. This is a ½ cup of butter. I'm letting that melt right now on a low to medium flame. Then I'm going to add my 1 cup of flour. I'm going to put that in there, smooth it out, and then we're going to add the rest of our ingredients to it, so stay tuned. Okay, so we're back. My butter is melting in the pot here. You want to use at least a 4-quart saucepan or smaller pot here. I just like to have the room. And so I'm melting that butter there, and then we're going to add our 1 cup of flour. So I'm getting that prepared. Here's my 1 cup of flour. And we're also going to use our nutmeg. We're actually going to use 1/4 teaspoon of nutmeg and around 4 cups of milk. All right, so this butter is almost melted. I'm going to put the flame onto a medium now. And we're going to add the flour. And I'm just kind of making that paste there. Now when you do it, it's going to look like this. Hopefully you can see that. It's going to be like sort of like very pasty. And it's pretty much smooth. And now I'm going to whisk in my milk. So I'm going to lower the flame a bit, add in my 4 cups of milk. Okay, so I have my milk in there. I'm using my whisk. I want to break up all that butter and that flour mixture. I'm going to add my ground nutmeg. Remember, you're adding 1/4 teaspoon of ground nutmeg. I'm going to add a little salt and a little bit of pepper. This is some freshly grounded black pepper. I'm going to turn off the flame. I'm going to let this cool for approximately 15 minutes or so, and then I'm going to add the Parmesan cheese and the eggs to it. You got to let it cool first. All right, look at that. Looks so good. Well, I turned off the light so you can get a better view, and it almost looks like mashed potatoes, but look how thick it is. And like I said, I turned off the heat. It's still cooking because the pot is hot. So you want to leave that in there for approximately 10 minutes or so, and it will cool, and then we're going to add the eggs and the Parmesan cheese, so stay tuned. Okay, so we're back, and I have my 3 eggs in here, and right now I am breaking them up. I'm just using a fork. And this is how my mom always used to show me how to break up an egg, using a fork like this. And just want to do it to where it's pretty much all broken up and smooth. Okay, that looks good. And we already let our mixture here kind of settle for about 10 minutes. You can do 15 minutes. I think I said 15 minutes before, but 10 or 15 minutes should work. I'm going to add my egg. Stir that in. Show you up close what it looks like. So I'm just stirring in that egg there. Then I'm adding my 1 cup of Parmigiano Reggiano cheese. Yum. That looks so good. That has been grated. Just want to put that in there like that. This is going to be our topping, by the way. That looks good. Everything is pretty much well blended. Here's my baking dish that we're going to use. I'm just going to get my pan and just spray it. Make sure it's all covered, the sides. And I have my oven. It's preheating to 375 degrees. And I'm going to show you how we're going to layer our Greek lasagna, so stay tuned. Okay, so welcome back. So we're going to arrange our lasagna. So I'm going to use half of my penne pasta, and I'm going to just place them at the bottom of my pan here, my baking pan. And like I said, these have been drained. You want to cook these for around 11 minutes and then drain them. And so this is going to be the base. We want a nice base of pasta at the bottom. And so you're using around half of it or so. All right, really easy. And then we're going to add our meat mixture. So we're just going to layer that on top. This smells really good, by the way. Oh my gosh. That balsamic vinegar really adds that flavor and that, oh, it smells so good. And the pumpkin spice. All right. So I'm just going to coat the top of all those noodles with my meat mixture. How awesome is that? Make sure you get every corner nice and smooth and even. Even it out. Yum, it smells so good, guys. Oh my gosh, I wish you could smell it. But if you make it, then you'll be able to smell it. You gotta make it yourself. It's not that hard, you can do it. And if you are a household of 1, maybe you're just living by yourself, you could still make this and you can freeze half of it and you can eat the rest and then just take it out of the freezer when you're ready. Okay, so now we're gonna add the topping to it. But before we do that, we gotta use the rest of our pasta. So I'm gonna put the rest of our pasta on top. Awesome. Okay, spread that out a little bit. Very nice. Cannot wait to eat this. All right, and then we have our sauce. This is our sauce. I'm gonna move this over. And what you want to do with your sauce, I'm gonna give it a good stir before. Remember, this sauce already has the Parmesan cheese to it. give this a nice little stir again, and then we're going to add it. Here we go. Sprinkle that on top. Oh, wow. That looks so good. Now, what I like to do, just as a little tip, is to do the corners first. So you definitely make sure that you know you'll have enough. And then I put some in the middle after the 4 corners. And then I work on the sides. Wow, this looks really good. And then spread it all around. Going to use the back of my ladle here just to make sure it gets all evenly distributed. All right, awesome. Perfect. Now, one more thing. What I'm going to do on top is I'm going to do a light little sprinkling of cinnamon, just a little bit. All right? It already has the pumpkin spice in there, but just that little topping of the cinnamon, I think it's gonna be really cool. All right, so we're gonna add it to our oven, and it's going to bake for around 45 minutes. But you wanna do it until it's like, kind of like golden brown, and you can see it's bubbling a little bit. Once you see that, then you can take it out. So around 40-45 minutes or so. And then when we come back, we're gonna give it a good taste test, so stay tuned. Okay, so we're back, and oh my gosh, look at this. It looks so good. I cannot wait to taste it. Oh, it is golden brown. It was bubbling in the oven. It was awesome. It took 40 minutes, by the way, 40 minutes. So depending on your oven, it could be 40 minutes, could be 45 minutes. You gotta keep an eye on it. All right, so let's take a little bite. Oh, I cannot wait. Wow, this looks so good. Oh my God. This is so good, guys. Oh my gosh, delicious. I'm telling you. Oh my gosh. It's awesome. You have to try this out. Thank you so much for joining us today on Happy Cooking with Yvonne Douglas. If you have not subscribed yet, please subscribe and like this video. And until next time, happy cooking. Bye-bye.